So getting into our conversation now, positional storylines we're obviously going to be following throughout this offseason, leading up into training camp, into the preseason. We'll have some clarity on some of the positions we have a lot of ambiguity on right now, leading up to the NFL regular season kickoff against the New York Giants. Evidently, the Broncos quarterback competition between Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock is going to be under the microscope. I think everybody is going to be focusing on it. I'm going to try to not focus on it as much as the hashtag narrative of a training camp competition will be. Yes, it'll be the prime story for this team, but you're not going to just open up this podcast every single day and it's going to be quarterback this, quarterback that, quarterback this. That's not my nature. We got to talk about the entire team. Yes, quarterback is such an important position. It's absolutely critical for the Denver Broncos if they hope to be successful in the near future and for years to come. That's going to be a big part of it, but the team is also important as well. So while some other podcasts out there and some other conversations are really just quarterback-centric, we focus on the whole team here, Locked On Broncos. So obviously the 50-50 split between he and Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock, that's going to be key. Now, if the Broncos make a move at quarterback, obviously that's going to be something we'll talk about. But in terms of quarterback competition, I saw something this week, and just the narratives that we continue to see that people pick and choose and continue to be negative about. There was a conversation that said, why are the Broncos in a 50-50, a true 50-50 quarterback split when Drew needs all the reps? Well, here's the deal. In training camp last year, Drew Lock got every single first-team rep. There was no quarterback competition. Jeff Driscoll was not even in the conversation of being a guy that pushed Drew Lock to be the starter. So Drew Lock last year in training camp got every single first-team rep. There was nobody at his heels chomping at the bit to be able to push him. Drew could make mistakes in that practice, and there was not going to be any concern as to whether or not he would be the starter week one. This different now. Now, when we talk about 50-50, we've said it here on the show, each quarterback is going to get the same amount of reps, the same number of reps. Nobody's losing reps or anything. Everyone's going to get the same amount of number, the same sample size, and whoever does better, whoever's more efficient, and whoever leads the team best, they're going to be given the starting position week one. So there's so much narrative that we tend to look at in terms of that. And the one we're seeing is, well, Drew Lock's not going to get all the reps he needs. He's going to get plenty of reps. The Broncos are going to make sure of that because it was an investment they made in the NFL draft with him being a second-round pick. They're not going to give up on that investment just yet. They're going to give him every opportunity, and he's going to have to do whatever he can with the reps he's going to get. Same thing with Teddy Bridgewater. So it's going to be an equal quarterback competition between those two. So that's it. That's all we're going to focus on there. But we know the Deshaun Hamilton news. He's out for the whole entire year. Who knows what the Broncos are going to do with him, but it was evident that they were planning on 2021 without Deshaun Hamilton. They were looking to trade him or waive him. So obviously that leads to an opportunity for another player on the roster to rise up, and that is Tyree Cleveland. Courtland Sutton's back. Tim Patrick's back. Jerry Jeudy entering year number 2. KJ Hamler trying to stay healthy this upcoming season. Those guys are going to be in a fresh rotation in terms of personnel throughout this upcoming season. But the issue at hand that we have to take a look at, who's that other guy? Tyree Cleveland last year in a small sample size was very impressive for me. If we go back to that final regular season game against the Las Vegas Raiders, in that first half, it was the Tyree Cleveland show. Drew Lock went to him consistently and went to him a little bit too much, especially on fourth down. The Raiders defense knew it was coming, so they were able to get some stops. But I was super impressed with Cleveland as he went out throughout the season, especially being a 7th-round draft pick from Florida. The Broncos are going to find a way to use him. He's going to be a key special teams player for them, but he's also going to be in the wide receiver rotation role. Coach Zach Azzani is going to get him right to be able to contribute at that level. It looks like he's going to move up and take the spot where Deshaun Hamilton was, which means that Seth Williams, wide receiver out of Auburn that the team drafted this year, he's going to get an opportunity to learn from that Tyree Cleveland role. So he's going to play special teams as well this upcoming season. So that's going to be one of the storylines we follow. The other one is going to be, is there really going to be any competition for running back too? I mean, right now, when I watch some rookie mini camp footage, Javonte Williams, he does this thing, he's got the footwork, he's got the fundamental ability. I mean, no discounting that, but he also covers the nose of the football high and tight. I used to coach running backs, and that was always the key point. I always told my backs, it didn't matter if you could run a 4.40. It didn't matter if you're the fastest guy, but if you can't protect the football, it's going to be an issue. And I see that early on, developing good habits. Curtis Modkins obviously instilling that in the running back room, covering that nose of the football high and tight. That way, if you bring it out here and you still have the nose protected, it's not going to be in danger. You want to hold it here. If you come out right here, guess what? That's where the Charles Tillmans, the Michael Ojemudias, they come out and they punch it out, and then it leads to a fumble. Ball security is the most important thing for a running back, so he's working on that. But is it really going to be any competition for him in terms of running back too? I believe Mike Boone's going to be in a little bit, but I think right now, based on the Broncos' position of getting Javonte Williams, Pookie, that's his nickname, and you're going to hear a lot of references to Pookie throughout the year. Hashtag Feed Javonte from Candace Cooper, one of the hosts of the Locked On ACC podcast, who covered North Carolina, said that Pookie is one of those guys that you feed him the ball, you need 1 yard, you need 2 yards, 3 yards. He's going to be able to get that. Denver didn't have that dynamic last year. I really do believe Melvin Gordon's going to have the opportunity to be running back one, obviously on paper due to his salary. But if Javonte Williams is playing really well in training camp to a point, or even during the preseason, the NFL regular season, to the point that it's really hard to ignore his production if it's good, could we see him overtake Melvin Gordon throughout the season? I'm going to be keeping my eye on that all throughout this offseason training camp. What about Royce Freeman? What's his role going to be? I mean, there's a chance he could be waived after training camp. He could be cut. But then again, just the writing's on the wall. With the Mike Boone signing, it's really hard to see a guy like Royce Freeman sticking on the roster this year unless something really happens. He becomes the running back 2, and then you have Javonte Williams being running back 3. I don't know how it's going to formulate for the Broncos, but it's going to be something I keep my eye on. And then the last thing we're going to keep an eye on here on today's episode, Locked On Broncos, the linebacker lineups. Alexander Johnson, Josie Jewell, more than likely going to be the starters in the Broncos base package. But when things get dicey and they need a pass coverage dynamic package, I think we could see Baron Browning, Alexander Johnson. We could see Baron Browning and Justin Sternid. Vic Fangio's got a whole lot of pieces he can work with. What type of lineup will we see from the Broncos the most at linebacker this upcoming season? Broncos country, I'm eager for your thoughts on what you would like to see. Let me know in the comment section down below here on YouTube, or if you're on Twitter, listen to this podcast on your favorite podcast provider, shoot me a tweet at Cody Roark NFL, at Locked On Broncos, with your thoughts and your discussion on the subject matter at hand.